things that we really pride ourselves on here at Cohen Health and Performance is being really the best place in the DMV, at least we believe, for high level athletes, for high school athletes, athletic adults, and hopefully everyone in between there. Because when it comes to sports physical therapy, right, that's what we do. And a lot of people out there, right, they claim to do sports rehab. Some of them do a great job, some of them not so great. And for the ones who really don't do a great job on the sports rehab side of things, one of the biggest things I see those places do is underload their patients and their athletes. And a lot of times it's because maybe they're scared to injure the client, and so therefore they just run the extreme side of caution and don't provide enough load. The problem is, though, if you don't provide enough loading to the body in rehab, when it's of course appropriate and safe, is that then the body has no impetus to adapt and be able to handle that stress moving forward, right? We need to add enough load to then facilitate the body to adapt and be able to handle that moving forward. So in this example, let's say we're talking about somebody who's coming in for a knee injury. Could be maybe as part of their rehab after an ACL injury, maybe just chronic knee pain they've been experiencing for a while, right? There's a whole host of different things. And we're getting later in the stage of rehab where we want to hopefully start returning to training or to their sport. Well, we need to make sure we're adding a good amount of loading, a good amount of intensity. So loading in terms of, right, the intensity in the moment, right? Is the exercise itself intense enough in that moment? And of course, again, it's going to vary depending on whatever the goals are. Are we adding enough overall volume so the body gets used to that? Because, right, in a given game, let's say you are a basketball player, well, being able to jump and do an intense jump one time is great. But if you're playing, let's say, 30 minutes a game and you're playing 3 or 4 games a week, you have to be able to be ready for a good amount of volume as well. So, of course, you have to handle the intensity of what might be required in that game or in that individual movement, but also can you do it over and over and over again throughout what the upcoming season is going to be, and have we prepared for that? And that is going to require a good amount of intensity and training. So we can't just stop at where oftentimes typical rehab stops, right? Getting to a baseline level of strength is great, but let's say, are we doing plyometrics? Are we doing jumping drills? Are we teaching an athlete how to land appropriately, such as some of these different videos we're showing here, to replicate or to simulate some of the stresses they may have to in their sport? And that applies not just to field drills or turf-based drills, such as the ones that we've highlighted here, whether it's with jumping, with cutting, with sprinting, whatever your sport may entail, but when it comes to our weight room and our strength portion of things, have we built up to an intensity high enough there to facilitate some of the tissue adaptations we're hoping for here? Maybe the tendon loading capacity. As an example, let's say you're dealing with in the knee a quadricep tendon issue. It's very common after ACL repairs to have a bit of a patellar tendon issue. And have we facilitated or put enough stress on that patellar tendon to facilitate the adaptation we want, so therefore we don't develop a patellar tendonitis or tendinopathy when we really start increasing and ramping up that intensity? And that can start in the weight room, where we are going beyond just the basic sit to stands and maybe body weight squats, or even goblet squats are great. We do a lot of those in PT, but maybe we can step it up with something that incorporates a barbell, mess around with the tempos, or perhaps they have to have more time under tension, right? So they have a heavy weight and maybe they do certain sets and reps, but are we also calculating how much time under that tension they're experiencing to then make sure that the tendon can handle that loading for more extended periods of time? So I named a lot of different factors in this video today, but the overarching point is understanding that your physical therapist, especially if you are an athlete or somebody who is very active, needs to have an intimate understanding that the body needs to be loaded a good amount, needs to be really loaded to be fully ready for the activities that matter to you. And then that therapist needs to be an expert to understand how much of that loading is appropriate for that given time, to make sure we're adding enough of a stimulus, but of course finding that window where it's also not so much we're going to set ourselves back too, because that may be part of the reason why somebody wants to underload someone. So if you're looking for some great sports rehab solutions to help you with all this, you know where to find us.